Hello and welcome to the second video of week 3 in this trailer reno. And as we're continuing to move down from top to bottom in this RV reno, I'm going to tackle the countertops and the sinks today. I'm still waiting on a little bit of the backsplash to finish up with that, but I need to power through and keep being productive. So I'm going ahead and wiping down all the countertops and surfaces, including all the grime out of the sink, and removing any kind of loose caulk or adhesive as I go. I considered a couple different options when I was going to redo these sinks. I considered buying new, which is a little costly, especially an RV sink, and then I considered upgrading, doing like a porcelain or a stainless steel sink, which is even more costly, but ultimately I was just worried about the weight. These cabinets are just 2x, you know, it's not a lot holding these cabinets up, and I didn't want to add the extra weight, and besides, it's just for occasional use. Now these sinks are just like a polycarbonate plastic material, so there's not a way for me to bleach out this yellowing color, so I decided that I'm just gonna paint it. I found this BEHR all-in-one paint that paints any kind of material, whether it be glass, wood, metal, plastic. So I just considered my options, and this being indoor-outdoor paint, I figured this was going to weather the heat and it was going to be water resistant, so why not use it in these sinks? And ultimately, if it didn't work out, I would just replace the sinks with another plastic RV sink, so I really wasn't going to lose out here. I bought about 6 cans of these because I really wasn't sure how far I was going to take it, how much I was going to use, and I just bought I think this is called like crystal white or whatever. It's just the whitest white and the highest gloss, so that way it was going to be easier for me to clean. Looking back on this video now, I guess I could have been smarter and just totally taken the sink out and sprayed this in my driveway or something so that I would have had a little bit more fresh air, because you can see I'm constantly moving back and forth to the door to get fresh air. I did have the fan going, I did have all the windows that could open, and the door was obviously open. So if you're doing this, you can just be smarter and take this whole thing out and just put it back in later, or just make sure that you're taking a lot of breaks and taking your health into consideration better than I do. Now, I wasn't real sure what I was going to do about the faucets. I did think about replacing the faucets, and I'm still thinking about replacing those faucets because they're just plastic faucets just like these sinks are, but especially the bathroom faucet, the neck is so short. I really don't know how functional it'll be for like grown person hands. Regardless, I haven't found anything at a good deal, one that I'm interested in yet, so the old ones are just gonna have to do for now because I'm not willing to pay full price for brand new faucets. So I went ahead and sprayed these faucets too. They were clean and now they look fresh, so we'll see how long they last. I will replace them someday. And look at this little itty bitty bathroom sink. Now she looks brand new. Super important that you let that paint cure for at least overnight, if not 24 hours, so that you can get that nice glossy finish. I decided to start with the entertainment cabinet to do this vinyl countertop covering because it was the smallest area, and I figured I could go ahead and get my feet wet getting used to this. And I approached it the same way that I did as I was using the vinyl tile backsplash, by dry fitting everything first and making my cuts, leaving a little bit of edging on all the sides, that way I had a little bit of room for error. The biggest difference between this stuff and that tile backsplash is the thickness. This stuff is so thin, it is so finicky to work with. You really have to be on your game in order to get this right without any bubbles or creases. I start on the corners, just peeling off a very small portion of the vinyl and attaching it so that there's some overlay on the sides that I can cut off later. So much easier to trim it to make it look perfect at the end instead of trying to make it look perfect as you go. Believe me, you can't do it. I know they sell specific smoothers for stuff like this, wallpaper smoothers that you can buy online, and people use credit cards, whatever. I'm just using a spackling knife covered in a washcloth or a rag or whatever. If there's any bit of advice that I can give to you feeling like a complete beginner in this task, is that small little movements, little bits that you can attach at a time, that's the way to go. If you get jumbled up with the backing as you go along, just cut that backing off so that it doesn't get in your way. And as soon as you have the whole surface covered, you just pull all the edges real tight and go ahead and rub any little bubbles or creases out, and then you'll have a finished product and you'll be good to go. I was a bit hesitant to do this project just because most of the surfaces have this rounded edging around everything, and I didn't know how I was going to make a nice clean cut around these rounded edges. And then my husband pulled off this edging, and it was just a game changer for me. Like, duh, of course it just comes off. So I found some replacement T-edging. It's a 3/4 inch T-edging on Amazon, and it was only like $1 a foot, so there you go. And this is a couple days after, so I'm gonna go ahead and tackle this project. This is the biggest one, and none of the rolls of the vinyl were big enough to do the whole surface in one thing, and that already had me kind of on edge. I don't like seams, I don't like things not matching up, so my OCD was really kind of kicking into high gear with this. And I just kept trying to tell myself over and over that it's just a camper, it's just for the weekends, we're just churching it up, we're just making it look better, it doesn't have to be perfect. But it's like, if I'm taking the time, you know, you want it to be perfect. If you're already doing it, you might as well do the best that you possibly can, and I think about that for everything. So now, after finishing and caulking around the sink, this is how she ended up, and from far away it looks great, you know, but when you get so much closer, that's when you see the seams and you see the extra cuts that I had to make. And I know nobody else is gonna be your worst critic, you know, you're your own worst critic, but the fact that all these extra cuts I had to make, it just eats me up inside. Ultimately, the finished product is a cohesive look. If I were to do it over again, I would pick something that doesn't have a texture. I thought this was just going to be a wood grain look and not a wood grain texture, but what can you do? So the countertops are all done, the sinks are all done, I've got the faucets soaking, and those will be all done today, so I'll have those installed. But I gotta tell you, covering these countertops has really taken the wind out of my sails. So there's a couple things that I would have changed if I could go back. I think that this was the best option that I had for the resources that I had. I'm not necessarily ecstatic about it. It's fine. It'll do the job, and it looks better because it looks cohesive with everything else that I've done. But I'm dragging a little bit now just because it didn't work out as great as I thought, and I knew it was a big task going into this project, but you know, after you have a couple snags, things just start going a little bit slower, and then your morale just kind of dips a little bit. So I am trying to stay positive, I'm trying to stay focused on going forward, but I'm dragging a little bit now, so I apologize. I'm really gonna try to force myself to keep pushing. My plan is to tackle the slide out and finally start bringing stuff back into the trailer and make it feel like I'm actually accomplishing something in this project. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it's free, and I truly do appreciate you guys joining me on this journey.